It's time for another Wild Time to let you know where we're at and what we've been up to.
As you can probably tell from what you can see in the background, we're not in Kansas anymore. Well, actually, we never were.
No, we're in Arizona and we're actually in a Maricopa County park. They do have overnight camping here for RVs, and it's part of a trail system. It's like a 300-mile loop that goes around the valley, and I think it visits several of the county parks.
Yeah, so in this video, we're going to share a couple of the interesting things that we've done while here in the Phoenix area.
So when we got to the general Phoenix area, we ended up staying at an RV resort. And I put it in quotes because I think that term resort is used quite loosely and probably for good reason. We all have different ideas of what resort means, and we'd love to read in the comments what you think that a resort or an RV resort should be, or what it should be comprised of. In this case, it was essentially a parking lot with full hookups, but there were considerable amount of amenities, and unfortunately, that, for the price, it's really not one of our things. We don't end up using a lot of amenities at RV parks when we're in them because we do more adventuring around and exploring and stuff like that. So that's our thing. But anyway, that's where we ended up for a while.
Yeah, so let us know in the comments what you think an RV resort should have or should be, and if there are any that you've stayed in that you really enjoyed. We'd love to hear about it.
One of the things that we did recently was attend a considerably large home and garden show in Phoenix.
Now you may be wondering, since we live full-time in an RV, why we would be interested in attending a home and garden show.
Well, one of the reasons is a lot of the vendors that showed up there were showing off items that would pertain to a lot of different types of living styles.
And another bonus was that they had a tiny home show within the home and garden show, so that piqued our interest.
Yeah, and they even had a lot of RVs, unique RVs there. Yeah, so that was good.
Something they had at this home show that transcends all living arrangements are samples. They had samples of honey, some local honeys. I'm not usually a big honey person, but they had a spicy version of this honey that was exceptionally tasty.
Yeah, it's cool to support the locals with their honey, and also, as they say, that if you have allergies and things like that it helps with your immune system to get what's in the local area, from the bees.
Yeah, they had different kinds of teas and some other beverages. They had an electrolyte company there that had just tons and tons of flavors. It was pretty tasty, but we have another company that we like to get our electrolytes from.
Yeah, we just order them online, and I can put a link in the description if you're interested in that type of thing, because we've for a long time now believed that water's not the whole ticket. It's your body doesn't need something just because it's wet. We do want to get those electrolytes in there to power our system and everything, and so we found one that's not all sugary and everything, but does have good flavor, and we like it. So we'll put a link in. You can see what you think.
Yeah. So getting samples is always fun.
Yeah. So a couple of the other things that we saw there that I thought were interesting was the phone case.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of interesting, caught my eye because of the way that it just kind of rolled down, and you slid the phone out and you put it back in and rolled it back up. I've had some pretty good phone cases, but they're a little bit more involved to take off. You have to bend it down all the way, and I mean really bend it to get it off of there and then go all the way around, where this one just would fold down and slide in and out. So I thought that was good. Another thing that I feel like pretty much all of us use normally is a pillow, and they had those bamboo pillows there, which I thought they were kind of neat, and the way that they did it or had these manufactured was there was a way that you could adjust it, by scrunching it and everything, which I guess you can do with a lot of pillows, but this actually held its form a little bit better. So that was kind of interesting.
And it rolled up really neat too.
Yeah, it did.
So those were really cool pillows. Another thing that they had that I thought would have worked great in the RV is this little sweeper thing. It was kind of like a vacuum, but it was not, you didn't have to plug it in or anything. It was just basically a sweeper that swept up all the debris, and then you just dump the tray and you were on your way. It would go under the baseboards, and it was just a really nifty little sweeper that I may look into in the future.
Yeah, we've seen those before, like the old style ones. They're just like a flat square or rectangle on a pole, and you do it, and it's got a little brush in the middle. But this one actually really picked up some big debris.
Yeah.
And we're fascinated by it, the way that it was picking up. We don't quite need that in our RV, and some people might, and you might even want it like outside where you put out your patio stuff. Even if you're living in a tent and you put something out, it's a good way to just sweep up and everything. We thought that was really interesting.
The tiny home show section of the home show was really interesting to us. We've always been fascinated by these tiny homes.
Yeah, we've been living in an RV for 7 years, and we consider it a tiny home. I mean, it's tiny to us. You may look at it, pictures of it, or see it and think, wow, that's not tiny. But I guess it's not if you compare it to other smaller RVs, but it is if we compare it to an apartment or a townhouse or a home or something like that. It is tiny, and we weren't after, at this particular leg of our journey in life, we weren't after the smallest possible thing, and that may be on the horizon. But we have had a motorhome before, and we have had a smaller pull trailer, but now we're in a 40-foot fifth wheel, and to us it's tiny.
Yeah, the tiny homes are just kind of fascinating to see how they utilize all the space. And one thing that I'm not quite sure I'm on board with in some of these is that a lot of them use the loft as the sleeping area. Now, having a loft for your sleeping area can be a little bit inconvenient. If you have to get up and down, you're not able to stand up in there. So that can be an issue.
Yeah, it's kind of like a truck camper in that sense. The ones that, or the old school Class C's that only had the overhang bed over top of the cockpit, if you will, or the driver's area. And so, these were quite lofty.
Yeah, they did have one, however, though, that kind of did a workaround for this problem. The entire tiny home, the top portion extended upward, much like some of the truck campers that have the extension where you can lift them up. You could lift up the entire house and make it taller once you got to your location, and it basically made the entire upstairs to where you could stand and walk around easily. So
yeah, and I didn't look
kind
into
of
it too closely, but I think that it might have been mechanical. I don't think it was hydraulic, but nonetheless, you'd go up the stairs. The stairs were gruesome, or whatever.
Yeah, they were quite steep.
Yeah, it was. They were exceptionally steep, and they were very shallow stairs, and that would be very difficult for people to get up and down. And I think they did mention that it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting up there, once you were up, you had you could stand up in it. I'm 6 foot, and I could stand up very well. And I believe they might have had an office area up there as well as a bedroom, so it worked out. So that was kind of neat.
Yeah, and they had a couple other kind of interesting RV situations there.
Yeah, there was one made out of an ambulance, and I went into that, and we looked around at the different things, and you could kind of still sense, because you knew it was an ambulance, you could kind of sense the narrowness and how they had to utilize the space in there, but nonetheless, they made it into a tiny home on wheels for people that want just kind of an RV of sorts.
Yeah.
And then they had a horse trailer, and that was really interesting. And it's really fascinating that they have so many different types of things that people are making RVs out of, because there's more than just one way of doing this.
Yeah.
And whatever does it for you, that's what you need to get. And in this case, somebody that really was into that, Wild West motif or ranching or any of that kind of thing, or just liked the idea of a smaller trailer like that. They really did a good job with it.
Yeah, they did. The decor, they just really made it kind of match the theme of the horse trailer, and it was really cute. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, so they had a lot of interesting things there at the show, but the smaller RVs like that were quite neat. And of course, they had a Class B van there. We went through that, and I don't know, I like those things. I think I like the ones that people build themselves, the custom ones and everything, quite a bit more. I mean, they might be somewhat fancier in some ways when they're manufactured that way. But then again, I've seen people do some really clever
amazing
and
things.
amazing practical things with that small space. So yeah, it's always intriguing to look at these things.
Yep. So the home show was a lot of fun.
Another interesting thing that we did in the Phoenix area was attend something called Zoo Lights, and it was at night.
At the Phoenix Zoo. It was their 30th year of doing the zoo lights, and they are really, really cool.
Yeah, it's so much more fascinating than some of the other things like this that we've seen. We've been through drive-through such things where they might have wired outlines in the shape of some type of Christmassy thing or animal or something, and then just kind of took the lights around it and that kind of thing. But this was a lot more unique.
Yeah, there are just so many lights. It takes them about 4 months to put up all of the lights for this, and the trees are just covered. It's absolutely gorgeous. They also have these things they call lantern animals that are large. They're very large, like life-size large, and they're basically a metal
Bigger than
framed,
life.
yeah, bigger in some cases, wire-framed animals that they have covered with silk. And they are just beautiful.
Very colorful, and they're illuminated.
Colorful,
It's
and
just
they light
amazing.
up. And I just loved the rhinoceros this year. They were really, really cool.
Yeah, and they had pandas and just all different types of these throughout. Bears, the bears were really neat. And then I don't know, that just every little crack and crevice of the place had some type of thing to look at. And it was like 125 acres of this stuff, and the trees, just the way they outlined the trees, and they're very hard trees to get up to. I mean, they brought big cranes in to do this, so very fascinating. If you're ever in the area around the time that they do zoo lights, which is what
About Thanksgiving to mid-January, they had attendance of over 300,000 people this year. So it is definitely
and that's spread out, so it's not like you're
over the 2 months. So yeah, you're not there at one time with that many people.
Yeah,
but
that would be ridiculous.
it does get busy on the weekends for sure, but it is really a cool thing to see.
Yeah, we enjoyed it quite a bit, and we were able to get there when there was very little people there. We just waited it out to where it wasn't as popular and everything, and went around and had a really good time. We highly recommend it.
So currently we are planning and researching the next leg of our journey.
Yeah, we have a couple options that we've been discussing, and we're excited about either one of those. Is going to be a great adventure and put us into some areas that we haven't spent a lot of time in, and also allow us to make some really good, interesting videos to share with you. So stay connected. We also have some videos coming up right after this one. And as always, we absolutely love to read your comments. Please put them in the comment section of this video.
And don't forget to share, subscribe, and click on that little notification bell.
Thanks for watching.